Hey everyone, this is Matt with Surf City TCG. If you're new to my channel, I specialize in EDH/Commander content for bracket 3, top of the line, optimized Commander decks, typically with no infinite combos. I'm back today with one of my complete coaching session videos. Today's coaching is focused on Jaws, Relentless Predator. So here it is for you in its entirety. If this is something that you would be interested in, you can contact me directly on Discord. My handle there is SurfCityTCG, or the link to my Discord is in the video description and comments below. Alternatively, check out my Patreon for more info on how to book one of these sessions. So without further ado, here it is. Enjoy! Well, welcome, Zach. Thanks for setting up this time and booking this coaching session with me. Why don't you start off by just telling me a little bit about the prompt you gave me and what you're looking to get out of today's session today.
More of I was looking for, so I'm Zach, but thank you. So
Hi.
more of I was looking for Jaws for being bracket 4 or like
Mm-hmm.
closer to the higher than, because I know all my my guys of my group guys that like to play now wanted to play a little bit faster,
Okay.
and I wanted to kind of break into Jaws a little bit more and bring in a bracket 3 Jaw. I guess that's kind of funny, bracket 3 Jaws.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So do they play CEDH, or is it like a little bit under than that, and that's why you're going for bracket 4?
I'd say they play more bracket 4. They don't look at like they want to go into CDH at some point, but they just like to make more fun, crazy decks that are
Okay.
pretty much bracket 4.
Okay. So just so I understand, because I'm not as familiar with like the distinction between bracket 4 and CEDH, what does that difference mean to you?
At least for me and them, it's more of like uh I guess it's almost the same pretty much for CDH, where
Yeah.
like crazy things happen, like you could win super fast. I think more for them, it's more like they can actually have fun with
Mm-hmm.
playing EDH, well, bracket 4, instead of like having like, oh, someone's going off immediately, we have nothing entirely.
Yeah.
So it's more of like we we don't put it down too much, but we just like just the tiniest bit of a notch down.
That makes sense. What I've heard, and I don't know how much this resonates with you, but I've heard that bracket 4 is like basically off meta CEDH.
Okay.
So it's still CEDH combos potentially inclusive in the deck, and like you can still play whatever you want, but you're probably not playing like classic partner combinations like Timna Thrasios and winning with Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation like regularly. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, they usually play like not like really play that much commanders for the most part.
Got it. Okay. Well, I already created the list for you, so we're going to run through that. But if you see anything within the list that you feel like, oh, that's a little too much, or maybe that's not far enough, just feel free to let me know. We can make adjustments. But this is the
Yep.
plan I had for the session today. Overall, like, we might not stick to these timings exactly, but how does this look from a ratio perspective of like how much time's being spent on each category here?
No, I'd say definitely the Mulligan practice would makes the most sense for having that much into it to
Yep.
to better understand what you're trying to get for hands.
Cool. All right. Well, great. Sounds like we're on the same page. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Do you have any questions before we get started?
Uh, not too much at the moment right now.
Okay. No problem. So let me flip over to the deck list. All right. So I took my bracket 3 list and I duplicated it. I know we're not going to talk quite as much about deck building today, but you had mentioned like you might want a little bit help with deck building. So if you're curious how I created this list, I just duplicated my bracket 3, and you can do that by just going to whatever list you want in Moxfield and going to duplicate, and then you can name it, rename it. And then I started to cut the stuff that I felt like was a little bit lower bracket, like more of the bracket 3 stuff, and I added some more of the heavier stuff and the fast mana and the stacks pieces like Blood Moon, focused on some of the big combos, which you can find really easily by going to EDH rack, searching for Jaws or whichever commander you're using. and then just clicking combos here. And then it'll show you like the most popular combos for each deck. If you can drill into them a little bit more. In fact, this is where I pulled a lot of the combos that are on the coaching spreadsheet in this combos tab. These are the ones that I've included in the deck. So we'll come back to talk about these in a little bit. But for now, I just wanted to go over what this list is doing, kind of the general game plan of this deck, like how games should go or how you can expect them to go, how you're going to win, and like what are the best cards in the deck, what are you looking for in mulligans. That way, when we do mulligan practice, you'll have this like understanding of, because it's really hard to do mulligans when you don't, you're either playing a deck, it's new, you're just not sure how it works yet. It's hard to mulligan, you know, you don't know what you're looking for. And a lot of times if you have some sort of goal or understanding of how you want the turns to go, even though it won't end up going perfectly for you, it rarely does, right? Like you have 3 opponents that are trying to fuck you up. So you have to be able to like roll with the punches. But still, when you're mulliganing, your opponents aren't disrupting you at all. So that's the time when you can really try to stick to the game plan that you've laid out in your head and make that happen. So I guess what I want to do is start off by comparing this list to my bracket 3 list so we can see the biggest differences in terms of the cards that are included in this list versus excluded. So to do that, you either need the link of the other deck list, or in my case, since it's my list, I can just search for it. But if you wanted to do this, all you'd have to do is open up my bracket 3 draws list, copy the hyperlink onto your clipboard, and then you go to compare, and you just paste it here, and it will compare. But in this case, I'm just going to open up my recents, and it's right here, my bracket 3 list. So it's going to show us the cards that are unique to both lists. These are the cards that are unique to the bracket 3 list, aka these are the cards that I cut when making the bracket 4 list. And then the bracket 4 unique cards are going to be the ones I added. So obviously these should be the same number. I don't know why they're different. Actually, that's weird. But whatever, it's close enough. So I guess looking through the cards that I cut first, are there any that you see here that you don't understand why they were cut, or you think maybe they could still make room? And by the way, before you answer that, I want you to not assume that I'm perfect. You know, I do my best to build these deck lists and I put a lot of thought into it and spend a lot of time, but that doesn't mean I don't miss things or make mistakes. And with my own deck lists, often after playtesting, I make changes like every single game. So don't assume this is all set in stone. That being
I
said,
do understand.
go for it.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
So I would say would make the most sense about Commander's plate not being in there because we have other combos that are way faster, and then just doing regular Commander damage doesn't
Yeah, I
really.
was a little bummed to cut this and Champion's Helm because I think they're really good in this deck. And I think especially Champion's Helm is a little bit underappreciated when it comes to equipment. It's only 1 to equip. It gives a nice power boost, and Hexproof is just like such a safe feeling, right? But yeah, like when we're going for infinites or like combos with Underworld Breach, it's like these things just aren't as important anymore, right? Like, you know, they're good, but you know, you don't want to be dilly-dallying with like trying to equip something when all that really matters probably is hitting with Jaws once. I should have, let's back up because I should have talked about the commander first. So let's actually talk about what he does for those of you who don't know or can't read this mess of a card. It looks beautiful, but it's like kind of hard to see what's happening, and this is the only version. So I'm going to click on here so we could just read the text more easily. So Jaws is a 5 mana, 3 and double red for a 5/5 shark. He's got Trample and Haste, notably. Both of those keywords extremely important in this deck because Haste, obvious, right? And Trample is huge too because when he hits for combat damage, you make that many blood tokens. This means people might chump block even with a 1/1 because it prevents you from getting a blood token. The blood tokens aren't actually that useful. You'll use them occasionally for their actual activated ability, which is 1, tap, sack, discard a card, and draw a card. AKA, I think they call this rummaging instead of looting. It's like backwards looting. You have to discard first and then you draw. So that can come in handy if you're like desperate to find a land or just desperate to find an answer. But I'd say most of the time what you're going to do with these blood tokens is nothing. Just like have them sit there and then end up sacking them to like Krarkland Ironworks or something like that, just to burn people out. Because what else does Jaws do? Whenever a non-creature artifact is sacrificed or destroyed, he deals 1 damage to each opponent. So notice it doesn't say you control. So this is actually any artifact is sacrificed or destroyed. This means Jaws is extra good at bracket 4 and 5 because are people using treasures in high powered commander? Yeah, like every game, right? Tons of them. And it also stops people from going infinite with treasures because if you've got Jaws on the field and they're trying to go infinite with treasures, that's not going to happen. They're going to die, right? They're constrained by their life total at that point. So in that way, Jaws is kind of a stacks piece for you also because it can prevent some sort of probably a lot of combos like food-based combos, even artifact creatures-based combos. Actually, he doesn't see creatures dying even if it's on opposing boards. So anyway, like I still think that's a useful ability in terms of being a stacks piece, but I'd say most of the time you're going to be winning with this ability by going infinite, creating a bunch of artifacts and just like, burning them down, or maybe like not infinite, but just like killing them because this still does a lot of damage, right? If you have 10 artifacts in play at some point and you drop like a roaming throne and it's doubling everything, then it's pretty easy to win with that anyway. So any questions about what Jaws does? I think it's pretty like straightforward, but just want to make sure we're on the same page. 5 mana is a lot, he's got no protection, so that's something to consider. But I think we've got a lot of protection built into the deck, and we're going to try to win maybe the turn we play him potentially anyway.
That makes more sense. Like, don't play him out like super fast to the point where everyone's just gonna get rid of him fast. Well, I
I think,
mean, some people are already doing their own things as well, too.
that's the thing.
So,
Like, I think you're going to have to read the board state because in some regards, like Jaws, it's as funny as it is to say, Jaws doesn't look that threatening necessarily compared to some other commanders who are a much more imminent threat. So I think there are going to be some situations where you can just like accelerate him out and hope that he'll survive. The one, I'm relatively new to CEDH and kind of higher power commander, but the one thing I've learned from watching and playing a little bit is that your creatures actually feel a lot safer than they do at bracket 3, which feels a little counterintuitive at first until you realize that a lot of these high powered games are like a little bit of a solitaire situation where everyone's just trying to combo off and they're not necessarily playing as much interaction, especially for stuff that's on the board. Like they may have some like, key interaction, but it's hard to hit a 5-drop commander with a lot of the interaction that's played at higher power, I'd say. So I think, Jaws is going to feel relatively safe sometimes, and you shouldn't necessarily hesitate to just run him out for value. But you're going to have to feel that out from game to game, and your pod might be different too. So not really sure about that.
oh, for sure.
Okay, so now that we talked about what he did, let's jump back into the comparison. I want to continue to look through that and just address any issues you had with the changes I made. So looking through the rest of the top stuff, which is the stuff I cut, is there anything that stands out to you here, like that you might have wanted to keep in, or at least wanted to talk about why it was cut?
Was the one card you cut was deflecting SWAT, correct? I think that's what I see right there.
Where's that?
Or is that not deflecting SWAT? The one that's
Can
with the animated dragon.
uh
It's closer to Zorn.
oh, this? Oh, no,
Oh,
this is delayed blast fireball.
like,
No,
okay, never mind.
I would never cut deflecting spot.
I was like, man,
Yeah,
that's pretty.
good
Like
question
free.
though. Yeah, definitely not. Of
Okay.
the cards here, the ones that I'd say were the hardest cuts for me, and I think still could come back are Seize the Day is really good in this deck. especially with Jaws, since he's like your only attacker. So this being a reusable extra combat's pretty nice. Obviously, you want to get aggravated assault and go hard with that, but mono red's not the greatest at finding a random one of enchantment in your 99, right? Like you've got gamble, and that's it to find, a specific enchantment. So I'd say like having another effect like this might be worth adding back. Same goes with Bolt Bend. We have Redirect Lightning now, which is better than Bolt Bend, I think. So I'm running that and Deflecting Swat, as well as the two counters for blue spells, Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast. So I think Bolt Bend is just like one too many of those effects, but it's possible that you'll find you want even more redundancy on this, in which case we could look to add this back. It's sad to cut this because it comes with the Secret Lair, but, a braid's just not that important, I think. I don't know, like, high power, like I see a braid in CEDH list pretty often, but I think artifacts are a lot more important in CDH than they are in bracket 4 is my guess, because they're the like central theme of like half the decks. Knocking out someone's Bowls of Citadel or even their LED at the right time could be devastating. Whereas bracket 4, I think that's probably going to be less frequent, but I could be wrong about that. Torbrand's really good in this deck, but the triple red can be a little tough to cast. I'd say if we want to add back an effect like Torbrand, it might be better to go with... Did I end up cutting Solfim? Where is he? I thought I cut Solfim.
For some reason, when Jaws was first announced, I thought it was like the most cracked commander, thinking because you could do... for some reason, I thought commander damage was also effect damage. So I was like, everyone's dead now. I was wait a minute.
It's not that much different than that, though. Like, getting to 21, I mean, it's twice as much, right? But like in bracket 4, people are hurting themselves a lot. So, they're probably going to be at 30 within all reason. Yeah, I mean,
if that technically was commander damage, so
oh my god, that would be crazy. A lot of commanders would be really gross if that were the case. Like, imagine Perforos. So the ones I might consider adding back, aside from those that I already mentioned, are Delayed Blast Fireball. This card's just like always overperforms in my experience. Being able to, like, it's expensive, sure, but like foretelling this for 2 and then paying 6 to deal 5 damage to everything that isn't yours is just game winning a lot of the time. So you might consider adding this back, although I doubt it. Gear per Aether Grid seems like a good home. It seems like it would have a good home in this deck. Although, like, I don't know. The couple times I've played Jaws, I ended up making like at max maybe 10 blood tokens. So this is really good with 10 blood tokens in play. Obviously, you get to, send out 5 damage divided however you want every turn. And if you have something like Unwinding Clock, it gets even crazier, because then it's like every single turn you get to zap something for 5 divided how you want. But that's kind of like the best case scenario. So I don't know. This card could be worth testing. And aside from that, I think everything else is pretty understandable. But any questions before we move down to the ads?
Yeah, I did see the Unwinding Clock, and that actually kind of seems like a crazy kind of combo too.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of,
I mean, like, have you ever had an Unwinding Clock in play with the One Ring? It's insane.
Oh, that's actually, that was probably the first thing I probably should have thought of. I was not even thinking about that.
Yeah, it's nuts. You basically draw 15 cards in the first turn cycle. Pretty good. Yeah, try losing a game after that happens. And then, oh no, you take 5 on your upkeep though. Whatever will you do? Yeah, so for the same reason, and since we're running a lot of fast artifact mana, I put in Manifold Key. Did I cut Voltaic Key? I did, I think. Voltaic Key is another one that you could consider adding. It could be worth it. It's just like Manifold Key, except it doesn't have that second ability. And actually, the second ability on Manifold Key could come in handy in this deck. So Manifold Key is a perfect card for this deck. Voltaic Key might also be worth it, but we also have Clock of Omens, which this card's just busted anyway. But in this
That's what
deck, it's
you
extra
keep
nuts because
untapped
you have all the
all
blood
game.
tokens, right? Like every 2 blood tokens is like, okay, I untap the One Ring or I untap Mana Vault to make an extra 3 colorless. And it's just like, this card's going to lead to some of the most broken starts.
Yeah.
Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon, just like game destroyers sometimes. Like this could just turn off everyone except you.
And they have to, or if they have to answer it because they have to waste their only counter spell or
Exactly. Like,
whichever.
yeah, I need to counter that or I will never do anything the rest of the game. That's, what opponents are going to be staring down potentially. You might get hands where you have like turn once Blood Moon with like, off Ancient Tomb Chrome Mox or something. That could just be like you win. Like, let's scoop and go to the next one. So, if you don't want games like that, because some people don't, but it sounds like you do, like it could be
They,
worth cutting these,
yeah,
but
they do all like the craziest things turn one or turn two, and it's like, oh, we were not expecting that to
yeah,
happen.
no one expects the Blood Moon, but man, is it devastating. I hate these cards, but you're kind of asking for it when you play mana bases like I do.
I know I do play. I used to play Mono Red Stompy in Legacy, and I guess the Moon and Blood Moon is just always nasty cards that always have to be stopped before they
Yep,
land it.
yep. I heard that. I'm an old school Sly player, so I used to play Mono Red like in standard and extended back when that was a thing. So we've got Underworld Breach and Lion's Eye Diamond, classic combination, perfect for mono red. For that reason, we're also running Grinding Station because this can mill our entire deck and also find whatever combo pieces we need to just win. So Grinding Station plus Underworld Breach. By the way, if you aren't familiar with how any of these combos work, let me know. If you're not 100% certain about how any of these things work, let me know because I want to talk through
Okay.
it before we jump into game practice. But are you clear on how these things work, or we'll go over combos in a minute on my other
Okay.
tab.
I
So,
believe I know that combo though, I believe.
okay, it's pretty simple, but like I think it's worth taking a second going over these. All right. So, any questions on the stuff that's added? Have you played with Final Fortune before?
I actually have not played with Final Fortune yet. I know it's a crazy card, but I have not.
This card is sweet. I play it in bracket 3 sometimes just because it's fun. I think it's extra good the higher power you go because, the higher power, the more chance that an extra turn means you're just going to win. But sometimes you just won't know if you're going to win and you have to roll the dice. And I think that's where this card gets really fun. When you're because when you're going to win with an extra turn, it's not really that fun. It's just like, oh, I played a 2 mana extra turn and I win. It's when there's some uncertainty and you're like, all right, let's see if I get there. And sometimes you will and sometimes you won't. But I think in general, this card's going to perform very well for you. And sometimes you just have to roll the dice and go for it. And getting a feel for when those times are is all part of the fun and part of the learning process. So I'd say like just accept that you're going to lose sometimes when you play this, but you're going to learn no matter what.
Yeah.
Magda, classically broken card. We have a lot of ways to make
Yeah.
treasures in this deck, and you know Magna can then get you whatever piece you need, be it like Mycosynth Lattice. I'd say the things you're going to get most frequently are like Mycosynth Lattice, maybe Roaming Throne, maybe the One Ring, could be Clock of Omens. I thought about putting in Portal to Phyrexia, and it's possible that we should because you've got a lot of artifact mana, and you did give me the go ahead on adding Mishra's Workshop, which is, even I, with my vast collection, do not own a Mishra's Workshop because it is very expensive. But man,
Yes.
this is a good deck for it. So, like, hey, if you're willing to proxy it and your pod's cool with it, then yeah, play it. Like, this is going to win you some games, that's for sure. Any questions on the remaining stuff that's in this list here?
No, that makes all normal sense, anyways, for those adding those cards.
Cool. All right, let's go over. So, where are we at on time? Good. We are at 25 minutes right now. Good, we're doing well. Let's jump into the combos. So I want to talk about each of these combos and make sure, why don't you talk me through how each of these works, just so I can make sure, gauge your understanding of them. So go ahead and start with just the top left one.
So yeah, so it's the Reaver Cleaver. So it's whenever it's equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has trample, and then whenever this
Oops,
creature
sorry.
deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, create that many treasure tokens.
Yep,
Usually, if you have this attached to Jaws, it turns it to a 6/6, and then if you have aggravated assault on the field,
yep.
so it's 3 and 2 red. You always have technically an extra bad mana, but usually you just using it to activate aggravated assault, which says untap all creatures you control. After
Hmm.
this step, there's another combat step, so it's pretty much infinite combat steps if
It,
they
it,
can't
if
block
they
it.
can't block, yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. So good, good. Good evaluation. Pretty easy to understand that one, right? Like it's just, I mean, Reaver Cleaver is scary anyway without aggravated assault because it's like, oh, I got hit, you make 6 blood and 6 treasure. It's pretty easy to win after you do that anyway. But this is just like the final nail in the coffin. So there are going to be hands where you might have Gamble and Reaver Cleaver. So it's best to just wait and gamble after you hit once, right? Because if you gamble for aggravated assault and then try to swing, they're going to be like, okay, well, now we have to do anything possible to stop this or we're just dead. Whereas if you do it afterwards, once you've made the first set of 6 treasures, then it can be hard for them to stop you.
Correct.
All right, what about this combo here, this 3-card combo, top right?
I believe for Nuka Cola vending machine. So whenever you sacrifice a food, create a tap treasure token.
Mm-hmm,
So Academy manufacturers, if you would ever create a clue, food, or treasure, you create one of each of those.
mm-hmm.
And then what you have is you use Ironworks to sacrifice the food, and it would create a trap treasure. And then when it creates a trap treasure, Academy would make a clue, food, and a food. So you can always just infinitely sacrifice foods
Yep.
to
So
make infinite
what do you
tons.
get? Yeah, what do you get from this 3-card combo? Like, what's the end result?
This, this gives you infinite Jaws triggers.
Yep. But what if you don't have
Uh,
Jaws? What does this get you?
oh man. Yeah, is it technically it's infinite draw. It's infinite card draw because of clues.
Yes. Well, so back up. How could we crack infinite clues? You're missing a key and maybe you think it's obvious, but I want you to tell me everything you get from this combo.
So it's when you sacrifice an artifact, you add 2 colorless. So then you
Mm-hmm,
would use the 2 colorless
mm-hmm,
to crack a clue,
mm-hmm,
draw a card.
mm-hmm.
But when you sacrifice the artifact, which is usually the food, it creates a tap treasure token
Back up.
clue.
I'm looking for a
Oh,
simpler answer than this. This combo gets you infinite mana, right?
correct.
That's what I was looking for. Like, you know, the
Oh, I
the
see. Okay.
big understanding here is okay, we have infinite mana. Now, once we have infinite mana, that also means we have infinite what else?
Infinite mana, infinite card draw,
Yep. And one more thing.
and I believe it's infinite life too. With no, because
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes. Well, so
What
they all
is
come in
it?
tapped. So the
Okay.
foods have to tap to sack, so it is infinite life on the following turn, I guess.
Okay.
Or as soon as you're able to untap your foods. At least that's my understanding. Let's check our results here. So what does it say we get?
Infinite tap treasure tokens.
Infinite
Okay, yeah,
colorless
it's all.
mana, infinite tap treasures, infinite tap foods, infinite tap clues, which create the infinite card draw because the clues don't have to be tapped. The Clue is the only one that you don't have to tap to sack. That's why you get infinite card draw. But these two you don't get access to till the following turn. Okay?
Okay.
So this is important to know because when you're in the game, you want to be able to shortcut your understanding of what this means. Because if you have to try to figure it out in the heat of the game, that can result in misplays because you're stressed, like trying to understand what it does. So I think it's worth studying these and like having a very firm understanding of what you get if you have these in play. And that's why I'm spending some time going over them. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. But is that all pretty clear? Should we ready to move to the next thing?
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. How about this guy?
This one's a nasty combo.
Yep.
So it's with Michael's Atlantis says all permanents are artifacts in addition to their other types, and then all cards that aren't on the battlefield, spells, and permanents are colorless. And then players may spend mana as though they were mana of any color.
Yep.
Vandal Blast does destroy target artifact you don't control, but if you overload it for 4 and a red, you destroy each artifact you don't control, and where each permanent, even your opponent's lands, are artifacts.
Yep. So you cast Vandal Blast with Mycosynth out, what happens?
Is an automatic board wipe for the most part.
Literal board wipe, right? Like everything. like there are a few board wipes like this kind of board wipe where everything on the board is gone. Just like, whether you're not going to know whether they're scooping or just resolving the spell. I mean, I don't think anyone continues playing after this happens. It's like, okay, I'm fine starting from 0 and you have everything. This is just like, I win, right? Like that's the end result. So that's pretty funny. I might play it out just to troll you. Be like, okay, is it my turn? All right, let's talk about the last one. So Breach plus Grinding Station. How does this work?
I know when I used to play CDH, usually you use Breach, Grinding Station, and then you use Blue,
LED.
which is for LED. But for Blue, you usually play oh man, I'm blanking right now for some reason.
Okay, well forget that. Like forget you even know anything about what these do. Why don't you just like read the cards and try to understand what will happen with this combo, or like how might you use these? Let's say you find yourself in a situation where you've got these two cards in play, nothing else to do, you're about to lose. What do you do?
So
these are your only two cards. These are your only two cards on the board, okay, and no cards in hand.
Underworld Breach says each non-land card in your graveyard has. I can't even read that. That's so small
Escape.
For some reason. Escape. Okay. The escape cost is its card's mana value and plus exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard. And then at the beginning of end step, sacrifice Underworld Breach. And then Grinding Station says tap sacrifice artifact. Every player puts the top 3 cards of his or her great library into his or her graveyard. And then whenever a artifact comes into play, you untap Grinding Station.
Okay. So what do you do with these?
Usually, if you were to cast LED, it would untap.
No. Back up. Remember what I said. These are our only 2 permanents in play, and we have no cards in hand. Tell me what you do.
Ooh.
Let's say you've got like at least 3 cards in your graveyard, though. Doesn't matter what those cards are.
Because I'm trying to figure out, I first would have to sacrifice an artifact first if I had only 3 cards.
Yep. So what are you sacrificing? We only have 2 permanents in play, right?
Correct.
Which ones can we sack Underworld Breach? No, it's not an artifact, right?
No.
Okay, so what are we sacking?
Grinding Station.
Bingo. Okay, so we sack Grinding Station. Now what? We have to target a player, right? Who are we targeting?
That would be targeting myself.
Exactly. Don't target an opponent. That would be big mistake. And then if an
Yep.
opponent deflecting swats this to themselves, then you have to scoop because that's hilarious. But no, you target yourself, so you're going to mill 3, right? And then
Correct.
grinding station's now in your yard. Okay, so now you have 6 cards in your graveyard. So now it depends. Now what? Let's say you just hit 6 mountains.
And you would just recast Grinding Station from your graveyard.
Yes. So how are you doing that though? Because it costs 2. You can't. So I set up a bad situation here, but I just want you to understand like the power of this combo. So what you need to make this work is some sort of mana rock, like that's mana positive. So, or like some amount of mana to start it off, or LED is the easiest way to make this happen, right? Because then like you make 3 red every time that you cast it, and it's free to cast, right? And it doesn't matter, you're discarding your hand because you just cast it all from the graveyard, right? But with just these 2 cards alone, you need mana to make it work because Grinding Station is not free to cast. You have to still pay 2 for it to get it back into play. But
Correct.
it is good to know that with just these 2 cards, you can mill a lot, and then eventually you'll hit either your LED or your Soul Ring or like something that you can then sacrifice to replay. Like Soul Ring, every time you sack and replay it, it nets you 1 mana, right? Because it costs 1, but it makes 2. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's just important to understand that these 2 cards together are very powerful. They don't do everything, but I think once you know that, you can see the lines potentially when you're in the situation when it comes up.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Any questions before we move off this section?
No, not yet per se.
Okay, no problem. So, what are we doing? Like, back to the agenda real quick. We've talked about goals, we talked about comparisons. We didn't talk about, and we skipped ahead to combos. What is a game looking like with Jaws? Like, tell me without looking at the deck or without saying any specific cards, like, what are you trying to do? Like, if you're describing this deck to someone and you had only like 30 seconds to do that, what is the deck doing?
I'd say more of the deck is revolving around Jaws and using Jaws as a combo enabler to either doing infinite pings or having some type of way to get some port of infinite, or at least doing enough damage to take out opponents. Whether it
Yep.
be infinite combat steps, infinite damage from like infinite sacrifice triggers for Jaws to ping, or getting that infinite mana to at least play bigger spells to
Mm-hmm.
find the other infinite combo cards.
Yep. And what is Jaws doing for you aside from being the source of damage? What else does he do for you?
Um, like, is this like more like saying like he's the commander, or
No. He
okay?
gives you what resource does he give you? Like, what is he
Oh, blood tokens. He also gives blood
exactly?
tokens.
Right. So why are blood tokens useful?
It's pretty much used for looting.
Okay.
I think it's you discard a card first, right? For blood
Yeah,
tokens. And
discard to draw. That's one use. What else are we using blood tokens for?
we could use blood tokens for either sacrificing.
Mm-hmm.
We
How?
have Ironworks in play, or we
Yep.
have
Yep. So KCI, that's one answer. We also have
yep,
Radiant Lotus, which is like KCI,
sacrifice those.
but worse, much worse. It does make colored mana, but tell me why this is worse than Krark-Clan Ironworks. I see.
Because it's only a one-time effect
Yep.
when you tap it.
Yep. What else? Why else is this worse than KCI?
Uh,
No stupid answers. Say the obvious thing.
You have to at least sacrifice one, or actually, either way,
Yeah,
Ironclad's
not that.
sacrifices.
Something more obvious. What's the So tell me about each of these cards. Just
Is it because it says target player
that is
specifically?
that is one of the reasons I was looking for, but not the easy answer.
Ooh,
Describe these cards to someone who doesn't know what they do, either one.
so Radiant Lotus says tap, sacrifice one or more artifacts. You choose a color, and
Hmm.
target player
Hmm.
adds 3 mana of the
Okay,
chosen color.
when you're telling someone what a card does, you left out a key piece of information. What might you ask if someone just told you what that card did, but you had never seen it before? How much does it cost?
Uh, oh, six
Come on,
mana.
man. Like this is obvious, right? Like you know, what does a card do? Like, well, like none of that matters until you know how much it costs, right? Because like
Okay, that's true.
exactly. So this costs 6. How much does KCI cost?
Yeah, it only costs 4.
Exactly. So like that's big, right? So like this is a
Right.
more powerful effect. So it nets you the same amount of mana, right? Not exactly, but like in essence, right? Which is for every artifact you sack, you're getting, you know, in this case, well, you end up getting more mana in the long run with Radiant Lotus, but in terms of recouping what you paid for it, right? Sacking 2 artifacts recoups what you paid for Radiant Lotus, right? Does
Correct.
that make sense? And sacking 2 artifacts recoups what you paid for KCI. So in that way, they are the same. But Radiant Lotus ends up generating you more mana eventually, or like the more artifacts you sack, the better rate you'll get. And you also get colored mana versus colorless mana. Those are the reasons it's better. The reasons it's worse are, you already mentioned all of them, which is that it costs 2 more mana to cast, which is a huge deal. Because KCI, you can curve directly into Jaws, right? You go turn 4 KCI, turn 5 Jaws. That's a great setup. This comes down after Jaws, which is not as good, of course. Um, Also, like you mentioned, it targets a player. What does that mean, and why is that bad?
Because they can technically redirect
Yes.
the target player ability.
Yes, they can deflecting swat this ability to themselves. Now, let's say they were doing that. Do you still have to sacrifice the artifacts? How,
Yes, you do,
Tell
I
me how
believe,
it
right?
works. Yeah, well, describe a situation where opponent has a deflecting swat you didn't know, but they end up having it. Let's say you're trying to cast a Portal of Phyrexia, which is 9 mana. Tell me what happens.
So if you say you need to sacrifice 3 to
Yep,
make the 9 mana, you would
yep,
sacrifice the artifacts, and
mm-hmm,
it's for the cost of
mm-hmm,
tapping it.
mm-hmm.
Then you would choose I guess I'm trying to figure out if it's like it's after that, and I don't know if it's we choose a color first. Yeah, no, it's we choose a color.
Yep.
Then they can redirect after the fact. Us choosing a color.
You're choosing a color, and you're also needing to choose a target. So
Target
when
play, yes.
when you put any spell or ability on the stack, you're going to have to declare all targets, pay all costs. Now,
Okay, right,
the cost is everything to the left of the colon, right, in an
right,
activated ability. So this is the colon. This is the cost. The cost is 2 things in this case. One is tap this. The other is sacrifice 1 or more artifacts. So these
right.
costs must be paid in order for the ability to be put on the stack. But you also
Right.
must choose declare any targets and then do anything else that is specified. So yeah, you sack your 3 artifacts, you tap it, you choose red, you target yourself. At that point, opponent deflecting swats it to them. They get the 9 red if it resolves. And you still lose
Right.
your artifacts because you paid that as part of the cost. So pretty devastating. This is a high liability card, but a high payoff. This is a card that's either going to win or lose you the game. So play it very carefully. You might try to bait out deflecting swat or try to ascertain if someone has it or not, because it's very important, right? And it might be even worth waiting until you have one of your redirects, because we've got our own deflecting SWAT. We've got redirect lightning, which is new from Avatar. It's like 1 mana deflecting SWAT. And then if you find you want even more of this sort of effect, we could add back in Bolt Bend too.
Okay.
But yeah, like be careful when using this. Like I guess what I would caution you is don't use this ability if you have other options, and if it being redirected would cause you to lose a game that you otherwise had no like right losing. This is the kind of ability that can throw a game that you were like guaranteed to win. Okay, so as long as you know that and play it carefully, then you'll be fine.
That makes sense.
All right. I think that's basically all I had about the deck. I'm ready to get into mulligans if you are. We've got 45 minutes left at this point. Do you have any questions before we start on mulligans?
No, that seems like, pretty straightforward of like what the deck's trying to do, as well as like the added cards that make it more of a
I guess
higher
we didn't quite finish like the game plan. So sorry to back up again, but like what are you trying to do? Like, because obviously like yeah, you could say, Matt, I'm trying to win. Like, what do you think? Like, but okay, but what does a like sequence of turns look like? And I don't want to hear like I draw a soul ring and I like rush out Jaws. That's not
No,
like,
no.
like what generally are our goals for the early, mid, and late game, I guess.
I guess for the most part is we wanting says if we can get like our artifacts like our cheaper cost, like getting so and so, that is like best case scenario. But in the
Hmm.
worst case
Hmm.
scenario, if we don't like had to keep a hand where we were going down too
Well,
far,
let me rephrase this. So, like, what are we looking for in Mulligan?
looking for
Not
fast
specific
mana.
cards, but like, yeah, exactly, categories of cards. Go ahead.
So like fast mana, we're looking for lands, of course, so we can
Hmm.
actually
Hmm.
cast our spells.
Hmm.
Um, we're looking for any combo enabler, so like stuff like aggravate assault, anything like that, like underworld breach.
Are we?
Uh,
Are you looking to have one of those cards in your opening hand? Do you think? And by the
I mean,
way, I want to just say something before you answer me. I'm going to ask questions like this, and I don't want you to assume that I have any agenda, like I'm looking for you to answer one way or the other. I'm just going to ask these like straightforward questions that don't necessarily. I don't want you to necessarily think that I'm implying the answer is one way or the other. Okay. Okay, so go ahead and answer the
I,
question now. Do you think you want
I
a like aggravated assault in your opening hand?
I'd say we would, just because that is a combo enabler, and once
Hmm.
if we get that on the battlefield as well as Jaws, it's kind of like it could give a swing us to winning the game compared to not winning the game.
Okay, I'm gonna play
We
devil's
wanna
at.
we want
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a minute here. Like, it, I I understand that. However, is it possible that by having this clogging up our hand, we're preventing ourselves from like achieving a situation where we can win later? Do you understand what I mean?
I guess yes, that does make sense. So having I guess other things we could have is like removal slash counterplay against our opponents. So
I
like
think
having
like
like
this is too simplistic of a question. Like and you can tell me that. I think the answer is it depends. Like if we have an aggravated assault and a path towards playing it and Jaws, then like that's a plan and we can go for that plan, and like that may or may not work. It also depends on who our opponents are and what they're likely to have in terms of answers. If you're playing against like two mono blue decks, then you probably don't want to keep a hand with aggravated assault, because like the chance of it resolving is much lower, right? So I think
yes.
it's too simplistic to apply these like heuristics that are like, oh, like I always keep a hand that has aggravated assault, because that is just never going to work. Like you have to take it case by case. So I wouldn't say that being the case, I don't think it's right to say like we're looking for a hand that has one of our combo pieces, because that's really going to depend on a lot of other things. There are some other like very, you said land, that's obvious, right? What else
Right.
like are we like definitely going to be looking for in like an opening hand? You said fast mana, that's good. Fast mana, it doesn't have to be fast mana. I'm going to flip over to my types and tags. Do you use Moxfield?
What was it?
Do you use Moxfield?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So do you categorize your decks with types and tags that you add yourself, or do you not do that yet?
I do not.
Okay. So this is like, we're not going to do it now, and I've already done it for all my decks, but like this is the biggest level up that you can have in terms of your deck building. Like I know you mentioned like you could stand to improve at deck building. I think this is the way by adding these categories yourself that you will improve as a deck builder the most quickly and most effectively, because starting to understand like I go a little over the top and I apply multiple tags to every single card. But the nice thing about Moxfield is like once you add these, they're global tags, like these ones that have a hashtag and an exclamation point. These tags will apply anytime I add an Academy manufacturer to a deck, it's automatically going to have those tags. So you only have to do it once per card, and then it's all the stuff's already added. But it does take a little bit while to get up to that point. So I think what we're looking for in our opening hand is ramp, right? You talked about that.
Okay.
You know,
Okay, not fast. So it's
yeah,
technically
fast
it's
mana, whatever it is, like ways to rush out Jaws because we really want to get them out quickly. But like, what is a problem we're going to have with a mono red deck if we're just playing a bunch of mana sources?
not having like other things to use with the mana, of course.
Okay, yes. Phrase that like in a different way. Like,
Oh, okay.
what situation you're going to run into if you just play a bunch of mana rocks? Like, why don't you
Uh,
just put why don't you just have only mana rocks in your deck?
because then your
Or
deck's not gonna be doing
yeah,
anything for the
in other words, like what other major categories, I'd say there's three like huge categories that every deck needs in terms of like types of cards. Except for like let's not count land. So mana is one of them. What
right.
other like general types of cards does every deck need?
Like payoffs.
Okay, yes, but not what I was looking for.
Okay.
More broader, like every deck needs them. Doesn't matter what deck you're building, like the vegetables of every deck, if you will, like as the command zone puts it. If you don't know,
Oh,
that's
I'm
fine.
blank.
Just say I don't know. But like, what are you putting in every deck? Like ways to ramp, ways to don't know.
I guess I'm just blanking right now
That's okay.
what we're trying to.
Hey, don't worry about it. Like that's why we're here. So we want ways to draw cards, right?
Okay.
Like
Okay.
otherwise
Yeah.
you're just gonna run out of cards. Like you're gonna play all your mana
Right.
rocks and your hand's gonna be empty, right? Does our commander
Yep.
draw us cards?
Yes. It loops, so it's sort of like drawing cards. It gets us dig deeper through our deck.
It gives us card selection, but not card advantage. Do
Pure
you understand?
non-card advantage. Yeah.
Do you understand
Yeah.
the distinction?
Yes, because card advantage means like you actually get to keep the cards instead of like discarding a card to
Yeah.
draw a
If
card.
Jaws said if Blood Token said discard one, draw two, then that's card
Then
advantage. But
okay,
in this
yes.
case, it's just like we're never if we have one card in hand and an infinite blood tokens, we're never going to have more than one card in hand, right? It's always just
Correct.
like improving that one card, but like you can only improve it so much until you're like, man, I need more cards, right? So that's
Correct.
we got mana, we got card draw. What's the other like big thing that every deck needs? What type of spell?
Like instants
Okay, not
or
card type, but like what category? Like, mana, we got card draw. What else are you putting in your decks?
I guess like
Removal.
removal. Okay.
right? Like, do you have to deal with what opponents are doing ever?
Correct,
Of
correct.
course you
You
do,
can't
right?
just
Like you can't just sit there and play solitaire or opponents are going to win. If someone plays a smothering tide and no one deals with it, you're probably not going to win that game. So like those are the three main categories, right? So of those things, what are the one or more of those three categories that you're really looking for in your opening hand?
uh card draw
Hmm.
and I'm saying card draw and removal for the most part because you don't want to just do nothing.
Okay, so you'd keep a hand with card draw and removal, but no mana. Again, we're
Oh,
gonna we're gonna assume that you have lands, okay? So don't worry
okay.
about land. But like I think to me, the two, removal is less important to have in your opening hand because if you have card draw and you have mana, then you're gonna find other things, right? So I think
Yeah.
in your mulligan, like unless you're against a commander that it's like this commander is kill on sight, and if I don't kill it, I'm gonna lose. There's some commanders like that, right? Where you just like have to keep a hand with removal because if they untap with that commander, it's lights out. And there may be ones in your pod like that you're aware of. And in those cases, sure, like look for removal in your mulligan. But like, there are two other players at the table too, right? So like sometimes you just have to rely on them to help. I wouldn't do that all the time, but like sometimes you just will have to. So I'd say if in general you look for hands that have mana and have card draw, then everything else will fall into place, right? Very often, like, I don't know if you've read any of the deck reviews that I do in Discord, but like, very often, what I'll tell people is like, I'll give them a plan of, and this is a plan I'm going to give you too, which is like, the way to win games, keep a hand that can find the One Ring and cast it as fast as possible. That's how you're going to win a game. Like, if you have the more ways you have to find the One Ring and to cast it and to make sure it resolves, the more games you're going to win because the One Ring draws an obscene number of cards. And then it doesn't matter what else you have in your hand. You could mulligan to 3 and keep a mountain, mana vault, One Ring, and easily win that game. So I'm not saying you should mulligan to 3 looking for a hand like that, but it is good to keep in mind because especially at higher power, when you've got more consistent ways to find cards, and mono red's tough because there's not that many, right? But you do have
Correct.
several ways. If we go to my tutors, right? Gamble can find the One Ring, so can Inventor's Fair, so can Magda, so can Reckless Handling. Tezzeret can't, right? He can only find a 1 mana artifact or 0. Urza Saga can't. But you've got 4 ways to find the One Ring, and then you've got the One Ring itself. So I'd say, like, not always, but often you should keep hands with the goal of finding the One Ring. Okay? That should be your, like,
Yes.
ultimate game plan. Now, it's not always going to work. Sometimes you just won't be able to find it, and that's fine. We've got other ways to draw cards. We've got 2 wheels. These are draw 7s, right? Guaranteed. Like you're
Correct.
gonna draw 7 off these. So another
And you have
so another
sorry.
plan is, and let's write this down in our like goals ideas. So we've got some like general game plans. Number one plan is find the One Ring. Bingo. You do that, you're gonna win. That's not always the case, but it's like a very easy like path to winning. The One Ring is broken. It's way too good. It draws way too many cards. It's just dumb. Okay, so that's game
No.
plan 1. Now, in the event where you can't find it or you're mulliganing and you're just not getting there, game plan 2 is keep a hand, like you could keep a balanced hand, right? With, some mana, card draw, etc. Game plan 3 is maybe keep a hand that has a fast wheel. Okay, so you can you've got a lot of fast mana, right? So like if you have a hand where you can wheel turn one, that can really mess up opponents big time. Have you ever been wheeled on turn one by an opponent? It's pretty like
Yes.
messed up because it's like basically force mulliganing them and they don't get to take another mulligan, right? And a lot of times what happens is like you get a fast start. Like let's say you have a Chrome Mox and a Mox Diamond. You play both of those and a land. That destroys your whole hand basically, right? Because you have play Chrome Mox, you have to pitch a card to that. You play Mox Diamond, you have to pitch a land to that, and then you play a land. That's you're 5 cards down already. You have 2 cards left in your hand, plus the one you drew for turn, and then you play the wheel, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna discard 2 and draw 7. I have 3 mana rocks in play already, and then everyone else is gonna discard their hand and draw 7, but they didn't get to go yet. Like if you went first, so that's a way to win in
Which
mono red.
which could also give them the worst hand
Well,
possible,
yeah,
like
they
no
could
land.
they could mill into no land or all land, and then they can't do anything about that, and they're just going to be whining all game, and you can just laugh at them in their face, and it'll be hilarious. Um, you know, the other alternative is we're playing some heavy stacks pieces, right? Blood Moon, Magus of the Moon. If you're playing against a bunch of multicolored commanders, you could just have a plan of mulliganing for these. That could just win you the game. Like if you run one of these out on turn 2 or even turn 1, that could just be game over for them. Like they might have literally no way to deal with that and not even a way to draw into it. There's some decks that just don't run any basic lands. And having all mountains is just going to be like game over for them. So that's a plan. So I don't know why this isn't copying. 3. And with a wheel. Rush out, Magus, Flash, Blood Moon. So I'd say like go for one of these 4 plans, and that will put you in a good spot. I think, you know, and mulligan aggressively. I don't. How long have you been playing Magic?
I mean, I've been playing when Hour of Devastation came about. I've been on and off
Hmm. So about
for the
10
most part.
years. Is that I'm just approximating?
I'd say closer to around there.
Okay. So I'd say, you
Anyway,
know,
I know where having been probably to like maybe 2 or 3 years now, like I was been playing more competitively, so I've been trying to get a better understanding of like how I should be playing.
would you say if I asked you like before we started, like do you take a lot of mulligans? Are you hesitant to mulligan? What is
I
your
think
well, your overall like yeah philosophy on mulligans?
I think I'm very I'm only getting like maybe too aggressively, or it's like I keep hands that are like I think are good and then realizing they're not after keeping them.
Hmm. Okay,
I know where playing 1v1 it's kind of different where it's like
I
you
don't
have
think it
one
is
opponent
that
and
different. I think I'm glad to hear that. Like I think most players, I've done a lot of the coaching sessions, and I'd say 90% of players don't mulligan enough. So I would much rather you be on the more aggressive side and me have to tell you like to pull it back a little than vice versa
okay.
because taking more mulligans is the key to becoming a better player, period.
So
So I think it is important to understand what the hand does and what the plan is, but like, you're not always going to have the perfect situation. And sometimes you have to figure out like how to compromise given whatever the circumstances are in that case. So, all right, cool. Well, now I think, do you have a like general understanding of what the plan is? Because I think figuring, what you said when I first asked you, which is like look for, a combo piece. I think that is a good plan for like a turbo CDH deck, but this is not that, right? You're not going to find turn 1 wins in this deck. There probably are some combination of hands that can win on turn 1, but it's like extremely rare, and I don't think that's something you should be looking for. I think in general, if you follow one of these plans, you're going to have a lot more success.
no, that makes more sense. I know like where say like Rograk and Silas, like those
Yeah.
CDH decks, they want to find like the best combo hands ever.
Well, yeah,
or at least
if you've got Thassa's Oracle and Demonic Consultation in your deck, that's 3 mana,
yeah,
2-card combo to win. Sure, look for that combo, especially when you have like free counter spells to back it up. But in mono red,
correct,
like that's just not going to happen. Like, you know,
correct.
if you see a hand with LED and Underworld Breach, maybe it will happen. Like it depends, you know, what else you have. But in general, I think like you're gonna need to go for one of these more like steady plans and then come out with a big turn and out of nowhere. That's how you're going to win most often with this deck. All right,
Okay.
we've got about a little under 30 minutes left, so let's jump into some Mulligan practice. So what I want you to do is, if you're not familiar with any of these cards, please take your time and read them. And we're going to assume we don't know who our opponents are, and we're going to assume we don't know the turn order. This is our first 7, so you tell me right after I finish talking, and take all the time you need, please. Don't feel rushed. Whether or not you keep this hand. And if there's an obvious one, like no land, we'll just fly through it, okay? I don't want you to waste a bunch of time with that. I'd rather get through more of these. So tell me your thoughts on this hand. And if you decide to mulligan this, we're going to a second 7, and then down to 6 and 5 and so on.
This one I'd say I immediately would just mulligan.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
We should cut Myriad Landscape. I don't want that in here. Hold on a sec. Yes, I agree, though. I think if we had like one ramp spell, Descent into Avernus is an extremely good card in this deck. Extremely good, right? Because do you know what this card does? In fact, it came with the Jaws Secret Lair. That's how good it is.
Correct.
It it makes everyone treasure, but like we love everyone to make treasure, right? Because Jaws cares about anyone sacrificing artifacts. So, this is gonna make for a fast game. Let me just cut the Myriad Landscape. And we will add a mountain. By the way, you don't need to play snow-covered mountains. I only had these because I was playing extra planar lens, but I cut it for this build, so you could switch these. You could play regular mountains. Doesn't matter. All right, so this is our second 7. Okay, so with Gemstone Caverns, let's assume that we're not going first, okay?
Okay.
Can you see this, by the way? Like, can you see this, like, pretty well?
Yeah,
Do you need me to increase the size or anything? Okay, good.
Is that Inventor's Fair? Is that what that one is? Okay. Ooh, well, this one's a tough one then.
All right, well, walk me through what you're thinking.
Like I know right now, from what I'm looking right now, say if we did go, if we were going, technically not going first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not going first, so Gemstone...
We technically have Mana Rock, so with the Fellwar Stone, and then technically the copy artifact could also be a second Fellwar Stone after.
Mm-hmm.
Inventor's Fair, could you just go over Inventor's Fair? I just want to get refresh.
You need Metalcraft, so you have to have 3 artifacts, but then once you do, you can pay 4 colorless and sack it to tutor an artifact from your deck into your hand.
Which we only have 2 artifacts at the moment. I'm trying to think. I feel like we would probably mulligan this.
Okay.
Like I guess maybe it's keep. I guess I'm on the fence of like. I mean that's Inventor's Fair. It potentially can get us the 1 ring. That's why I'm more entitled to probably keeping.
So we're gonna hit Metalcraft very easily, right? Like especially with a hand like I think this hand looks great, and here's why. Like we've got the 1 ring. It's slow, but we can get it eventually, right? We already have 2 artifacts, and how else can we make more? Let's say we never draw another artifact the whole game. How else can we get an artifact though?
Jaws.
Yeah.
Jaws makes art.
Exactly, right? And this hand gets Jaws out pretty quick, right? Like on what turn can we play Jaws with this hand? Let's pretend we don't know what we're going to draw. Just all we have is what we have here. So let's walk through like how this might play out, like without drawing anything. So what do we start with? What do we do? So we have a pregame action, right?
That would be a Gemstone Caverns.
Okay. What are we pitching to it?
I feel like we would pitch Vandal Blast just because of deflecting SWAT can protect our jaws.
Yep, I
If that
agree.
makes sense.
The other option is to pitch a land, but that's pretty risky, I'd say. So yeah, Vandal
Yeah.
Blast, good choice. Okay, so now what? It's turn 1. What are we doing?
So then, turn when we played Inventor's Fair
Yep,
into Belwar Stone,
yep. Okay.
and then
Next
our
turn.
next turn after that, Arena of Glory does come in tapped. We
It
don't have a
does.
mountain,
Yep, so
but
this
then we
comes in top.
play that plus the steel to get copy a Belwar
Yep.
Stone.
And then we've got
Then
what?
next,
Turn 3 jaws, right?
correct,
With deflecting SWAT backup.
correct.
The
Which,
sand's
for the
sick.
most part, then the next turn after that, if we
And
tap,
and
well,
and
we
this is
tuck,
all without seeing any of our we're getting 3 draws that we haven't even looked at. Right?
okay, that makes, yep.
So yeah, like this hand has a like very solid plan. It gets jaws out really fast. This is exactly the kind of hand that you're looking for. Perfect hand. So I want you to see a hand like this and be
I think
salivating.
I think my hand. I think what I was. Oh, I think I was just trying to overthink. I think that's what I was like looking at.
Yeah,
Like
no, that's okay.
over.
Like we're just, I'm quite aware that it's like intimidating like dealing with me. So I'm sorry. It's just how I
No,
am.
no, 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 no,
No,
no worries.
but like, you know, you're a good player. Like don't question yourself. Just like, you know, be confident with your decisions. And if I say that I don't agree with you, that's fine. Like, just accept it or try to convince me why I'm wrong. Like, no
Okay,
one's necessarily right or wrong. Like, we can't prove like this was the right or wrong decision, but like, I think this looks like a pretty good hand. So, like, take your time and think through your first couple turns about how it might go. And that can, like, just like we just did. So, we're not going to bother drawing. I think we've talked through this hand enough, but like this is how I want you to think. And if you need to take a minute, especially when you're doing mulligans, like I think a lot of people feel rushed because like either maybe you've already taken a couple and everyone else has kept, and I can't tell you how many times I hear it in games where they're like, oh, I should take another mulligan, but like I don't want to. Like every game someone says that, it feels like. And I'm always like rolling my eyes at that. Like, how about you get over it? Let people can wait an extra minute while you shuffle and like find a hand that is going to work for you. You don't want to
I
get
think
stuck in an hour-long game because you were too lazy to take one more mulligan.
I
Go
think
ahead.
your Jaws videos you mulligan to like a 5 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, I just like I got a mulligan again.
Oh my God.
It
Like
doesn't do anything.
I just accept that I'm always the last one done with mulligans because I take a lot of mulligans and I also shuffle really carefully because I want to make sure
Correct.
that I'm like getting a good shuffle. So like it was hard for me at first too. Like, I felt like a lot of pressure, like people are waiting on me. But, you're here to play your game. So play your game.
Okay.
All right, let's look at a
Okay.
fresh 7.
So there's technically card draw with
Mm-hmm.
Valakut Awakening,
Sort of, yep.
but there's no real payoff. I mean, because that's technically card drop, but there's no fast mana,
Mm-hmm.
no no removals
Mm-hmm.
besides
So,
Banal Blast. But Banal Blast usually we usually have that for any like I guess that also could be played like at any time versus
sure.
like if opponent you see someone going faster.
Oh yeah, like if someone drops a soul ring in turn 1, you should always be vandal blasting that. Like you don't
Yeah,
want to hold
yeah.
this. Like, soul ring turn 1 is like vandal blast that every day.
Yeah. Then we can
um
technically we can cast another Vandal Blast later with Underworld Breach as well.
sure. Okay, so are we keeping or mulliganing?
Uh, In my opinion, I think we probably mulligan. I think it's just
Definitely.
not like it's
Definitely.
too slow. I mean,
This
yeah,
is a
because I think it's just
slam dunk, easy decision, mulligan. Like this hand is too slow. Like you want if you're keeping your first 7, it needs to be a fucking banger.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
So like that's the mentality I want you to have. Like, is this hand a
Correct.
banger? Like, no? Toss it. Now on your second
Okay.
7, you get a little bit more selective, right? It's like,
Okay.
I haven't dated in freaking 16 plus years or something, but like I imagine it's like dating, right? Like, when you're first available, it's like, oh, you can be really selective. And then like if you don't have a date and it's been a month or something, then you start like lowering your standards a little bit. So that's how mulligans are, right? Like the more you go down, the more willing you are to accept a hand like this. Like I would only keep this hand if it were like this versus going to 5 or maybe even 4. Like this
Yeah, I
hand's
think
just
if
too
this comes up,
slow. The only thing it
if
does
this
is Valakut Awakening on turn 3, and then you don't even know what you're going to draw, right? Like this hand's just
correct.
trash. All right, so we're looking at second 7. Here's our second 7. Again, we're going to assume Gemstone will be able to come in, although never happens to me. Only time I ever go first is when I have Gemstone in my opener.
Okay. Has mana. Technically have ramp with Ruby Medallion makes actually Jaws cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. Oh, actually, this actually is kind of like a crazy with manufacturer as well as panic.
Mm-hmm. Yes, good observation.
I feel like this one's a keep where we would just accept. Well, we don't pitch anything because if this is, I think this is kind of like a cracked hammer. If we're going, second, uh, Gemstone would be pitching blast,
Mm-hmm.
and then we go turn 1 mountain into Ruby Medallion, and then turn after that, I would probably go. I guess that's 3.
Okay. Is it again, I'm going to ask you a question, but it's not me trying to steer you in one direction or the
Oh,
other.
maybe or
Yeah, did you consider a different play than Ruby Medallion?
I guess it also could be, turn 1, Rite of Flame into Panic, because then that just starts our mana fast.
Yeah. Here's the okay, so like before you I'll let you finish before I say anything. So, do you keep this hand?
I feel like I would.
Yeah. I
I
think that in a vacuum like this hand looks great. Like this combo is ultra strong, right? Because what does
Correct.
this give you? Like
That that gives you clues, foods, and rare tokens,
right,
which
when
is
though?
hard draw.
So
Oh,
like let's say you do rush this out first. Like you play this on turn 1. And opponents are like, "Whoa, that's crazy." Like it's going to be one of these kind of games, right? So
yeah.
then next turn you casually run out the Academy Man. Do you think if an opponent, let's say an opponent played this on turn 1 with a bunch of fast mana, and then they ran this out, and then when do you make a clue, food, and treasure? When you make any one of those, right? When does this make
Correct.
them for you?
At the beginning of my upkeep.
Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? It means we have to run out the Academy Man and have him
Okay.
survive until we untap, right?
Correct.
Now, whether or not that is something that you think is likely to happen is going to be critical to know when you keep a hand like this. And I would say it's very unlikely because if you see an opponent do this and you're like, okay,
You're gonna
exactly, if they untap, because by the time, this was already out one turn, right? So then, like, when you play Academy Man, this triggers once before that, right? Because, everyone makes 2. So that means if you make it to your next turn, you would be making 4 treasures at that point, which then turns into 4 of each. And from there, you're going to be able to draw a bunch more cards, and like things are going to start to get really hairy for opponents. So I think seeing this 2-card combo represents a pretty critical threat for them, and they're going to try to do something about one of these 2 things. So that being said, I don't know if I like this plan, right? Because it sounds great on paper, but then you think like, okay,
okay.
this thing is very vulnerable, right? It's a creature and an artifact. So many things kill it, right? Lightning Bolt gets
Right.
it. Like Swords to Plowshares, like Nature's Claim. There's every removal spell pretty much is gonna destroy this mofo,
It's like
and we don't have any protection. So I think, as weird as it sounds, like if you were to keep this hand, the better
keep it on the
plan
gamble.
the better plan might be skip the descent, or like, slow play the descent and look to do this combo instead. Because this combo you can do immediately. All it takes is someone to have a Birds of Paradise or a 1 toughness dude, and now you get to drop Academy Man. Like maybe you do this after Jaws comes down, right? So you play Jaws first, right? You rush out Jaws with these cards. You make your 5 blood. And then when you have 5 blood, Bottle Cap Blast is the shit, because it only costs 1 red, and then you just tap 4 blood to pay for the colorless stuff, right? And then you shoot a 1 toughness thing, and you make 4 excess treasures, right? When you kill a 1 toughness thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can combo this right away and get your value immediately. You could even wait. Like, you could play the Academy Man, and then opponents are like, oh shit, I got to kill that thing. Wait for them to try to remove it, or wait till they're tapped out, like to the right time. And then you go in response Bottle Cap Blast. That way you.
So I want to make sure. I
Yeah.
want to make sure I'm reading it right. So when bottle cap resolves and you would make 4 treasures, they would make 4 treasures, 4 clues, and 4 foods. Correct?
Yes. If you were killing a 1
Okay.
toughness thing, yes. It's equal to the excess damage, right? So if there's only a 2 toughness thing, then you'd make 3 of each. But like, don't play this game of like drop it and pray unless you're in a really bad situation. Sometimes like you
Because
just.
I wasn't also thinking about that I could pretty much shuck Jaws out super fast as well.
Yeah, I think like, back to our evaluation of this hand, and I know we're spending a lot of time on this hand, but I think this is a really good hand to evaluate, because there are a lot of different paths we can go with this hand. And I think if you choose the path of play this on turn 1, play this on turn 2, which looks very flashy and attractive, that's a really easy way to lose a game. Like, you're going to lose 95% of the games that you try to have this sort of opening, especially since you're doing it so fast that opponents still have all of their removal, right? Like, a lot of times people are just like waiting to cast their removal. They've had, I think people aren't patient enough, right? So as soon as they see a threat, they're going to be like, boom, zap it. Like, I don't want to think about like what to use my removal on anymore, so I'm going to just use it the second I see something. So if you're the first person to run something out, you might be victim to that, which means it could be worth like slow playing stuff in your hand for that reason. So something to think about. It's, decisions in Commander are not always black and white or straightforward. And I think in general, if you look to slow down your play, you might find you have a little bit more success coming in after the smoke has cleared, so to speak. No one has that much removal or interaction left, and then you come in and clean things up. How many times have you experienced that happening, where like the losing player comes in and just sweeps out the win out of nowhere because they were mana screwed for 5 turns, but they had a full hand, and then all of a sudden they're just like, oh, boom, 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 I win. After like the 3 people were like shooting at each other all game. You know what I mean? So
I think
like,
the games I lose the most is one of the games where I try to take advantage fast and go way too fast to the point where I'm out of like
exactly.
of
Magic's
I'm
hard,
out of
and like you need to start to know when to go for it, when you can win out from underneath them. But I think a lot more often you're going to have success by trying to do it in response, like being a little bit more patient, passing. Like if you watch my gameplay, you'll see a lot of times I get questions in comments or even in Discord like, hey, you had this removal, how come you didn't use it, whatever. And I just try really hard to force myself to slow down and to like let other people respond. Because if you could, especially like using politics, if you can get your opponent to do something for you, That's how you win a game of Magic, because you spent nothing and they used their resources doing something that you were going to do anyway. You see what I mean?
Correct.
So
Yes.
just think about that. And, you know, even if you have the perfect answer to something, don't just snap it off. You might want to snap it off, but like think about it. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's
That
move
makes
on.
sense.
All right, here's our opening 7. What do you think?
Oh man, this one. Oh, we get Inventor's Fair again, which is technically wondering.
Yeah,
Manifold
slow, but yeah,
Manifold Key. Yeah, Manifold Key doesn't really do anything, at least at this moment, with this hand.
correct.
Just because because I'm tapping a Arcane Sign doesn't do anything. It's just not netting anything.
Yep. So you're
Maybe
keeping
I'm
it?
overthinking, but maybe I'm overthinking that it's too slow, but maybe I just think it's just we're not doing anything to the point where
I,
uh we don't have that many. I guess we technically have 3 artifacts in as well.
okay. So you're thinking Mulligan this?
Yeah, I'd say I'd mulligan.
Okay. I think that's valid. I think it's borderline. Like it. What I think the best answer to whether or not you mulligan this hand is it depends on what your opponents are playing. Because
Right.
if they're playing like very board focused decks, like let's say you're up against a dragon deck and like other decks that are going to be playing creatures, then I think this hand looks a lot better because what do we have?
Plasma's Act.
Yeah, Blasphemous Act is fucking good. Like this card is
Yeah.
nuts, and it can, red doesn't have a lot of card draw, right? But red's card
Right.
advantage comes in an unexpected way with a card like this. Tell me why this is card advantage.
Because now all your opponents don't have like a board for the most
Yeah,
part
you pay 1 mana to
to
destroy
destroy everything.
15 things. You just got a 1 card for 15 trade.
Right.
Like that's how you win a game of Magic. You ever play a game where a board wipe happens early and then like someone asks how many cards everyone has and it's like, "Oh, I have 2, I have 2, I have 2," and someone has 7. And you're like, "What? How did that happen?" They're like, "Well, I didn't play anything. I just cast Blasphemous Act on turn 3 and while you were all like playing stuff." Because when
Okay.
you have the power of information, right? Like you're not running out Academy Man on turn 3. You're just doing nothing on turn 3. You can even play it up, be like, "Oh, I'm so flooded," or like whatever. You can do whatever you want. You could draw with the War Room, Like it's not the best play, but it sets up this narrative that like lulls them into this sense of like, "Oh shit, Zach is like getting mana screwed. Let's ignore him." And then you're like, "Surprise, motherfuckers!" Like
Yeah.
and then you're in the driver's seat because you spent 1 mana on this. You're now the first person to develop, so you could just spend your whole turn cracking Inventor's Fair, and it's not really that big a deal because you just board wiped, you set everyone back huge, right? Now their commanders maybe all cost 2 extra, and you have the One Ring in hand. It's just like now you feel like you can't lose. So I think
Yep.
any hand that has a Blasphemous Act in the opener or any like mass sweeper, you should think about it in that way, which is like, how can I engineer this hand to be really good? And I think like if Blasphemous Act is going to be strong against the commanders you're up against, then that's a huge opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I think like this hand's probably a keep for that reason. You just have to play it a little bit differently and change your mindset a bit. Again, you're not always going to be able to rely on the same plan of just like running out jaws and like winning. Sometimes you see a hand like this and you're like, well, I have a really strong piece with Academy Manufactor. I have a really strong piece with Inventors Fair. And I have a way to make my Inventors Fair even better. I get the
Yeah.
One
Okay.
Ring, and now the One Ring is drawing twice a turn. and that's busted because broaden your perspective about like what a hand can do, and I think you'll win more often.
That
All
makes
right,
sense.
let's do another one. All right, here's your opener. First 7. What do you think?
That's a mole.
Mm-hmm. It's a shame, right? If we had 1 red source, we
Well,
have a
yeah,
turn 1 Ragavan, but yeah,
yeah,
it's too risky. On an opening 7, no way. Now, if you were on 5, I might risk it because like the payoff of this hand is huge, right? We have a ton of power. We have Jessica's Will, we have turn 1 Ragavan, we have Academy Man, and 2 treasure makers, 3 treasure makers. This hand has like some killer pieces.
yeah.
So I think like in a situation, let's say you're up against like the hardest decks in your pod, and you're like, man, like I never beat these decks. It wouldn't be crazy to keep a hand like this because the payoff is so high. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You might get screwed and not draw a land ever, but if you draw a single mountain, then all of a sudden you have a chance of winning in a game where you almost never win. So I think, again, broaden your perspective, play to your outs. Sometimes your outs are very low percentage plays, but that might be the only way you have a chance of winning. But on your opening 7, I would never risk this. But if you're like down to 6 or 5 and or you're against a bunch of really tough decks, or you're just feeling lucky and you want to gamble, this could be a keep. I know it's like seems crazy, but you have 2 draws at a land, and you know this hand could get there very easily. But
Correct.
you know, I would never keep it. I feel like I'm not very lucky, but you know, I could see someone keeping this. All right, here's your second 7. What do you think about this guy?
I mean, I see a wheel, so I'm like, Tez is actually not bad. Tez is actually and then with the clock also in hand, it's actually making me even more like.
What else do we have?
I feel like we have Red of Flame, which actually lets us cast Wheel. Or what's the third card? I'm just trying to remember what that one is. Okay. Then yeah, that's a key. I did not realize that was the one. Okay, yeah, this is I'd say this is
Artifact
close
Gamble.
to more or less. I'd say yeah, this is probably a keep for the most part.
Definitely.
I mean, we definitely
snap keep all day. Like this hand's incredible, right? Like, you know, you've got a backup plan in wheel, which is great. Like I don't think you wheel this hand. Like you've got you got gas and a half here. Like you go, I mean, the only thing that would be amazing is like, you know, one more piece of ramp, but like still turn 2 Tezzeret, right? What do we do with Tezzeret?
We could technically just grab ring, right?
Yeah.
Not
yeah.
ring, sorry. Soul ring.
Yeah. I assumed that's what you meant. Yeah.
That's what I meant. For some reason, I was thinking like.
I mean,
wondering. Wait a minute.
the only thing Tezzeret does is get Soul Ring. Like that's his only purpose. You know. Have you seen that like Rick and Morty meme where with the like butter spreader guy? It's like, what's your purpose? If you don't know what I'm talking about, whatever. But like, yeah, Tezzeret.
I'll have to look at that.
Tezzeret has only one purpose, and it's fetching Soul Ring. After that, who cares about what he does? Like his other abilities are pretty irrelevant. That's not like strictly true. His 0 is actually kind of good in this deck because you can untap the ring, you can untap Mana Vault and such. You could actually consider getting Mana Vault with this hand too, instead of Soul Ring, because you've got Unwinding Clock and you've got Tezzeret, both of which can untap artifacts. So Mana Vault might just, you know, if you could guarantee you're going to get Unwinding Clock out, then Mana Vault's just better than Soul Ring because it taps for 3 and not 2, and there's no downside. So yeah, this hand's nutty. I think the best part about this hand is the wheel, because if this plan that you have here goes wrong, like they deal with this or they deal with this, or you discard the ring or whatever, you still have the wheel to fall back on and just draw a new 7.
Yep.
Yeah, this hand's like godlike.
Okay.
I think like
Yeah.
you're gonna win this game. It's hard not to win this game. Um, all right, we're out of time. Let's do one more. This will be the last one, and then
Okay.
we'll end with any questions, and then yeah. So last one. Well, we'll go down however many we need to if we do. So this is your opener. What do you think?
That- that's a mulligan. Because it's a land that only produces a colorless at the moment.
Yep, definitely. Well, let's say it was what. Let's imagine this is a red land. What do you think then?
I still think it's probably a little.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
not doing anything for the most part.
good,
Hoping for a land on the top.
good. Second 7.
Ooh, I feel like this is still also. I guess. Okay, actually, I'm trying to think. So
Mm-hmm.
we're not like going too fast with Magus. So technically, that Cavern Souls could be Magus, but
Mm-hmm. It could be.
I, I
Good,
still feel like
good
maybe
observation, by the way. Like, I'm glad you said that. I think that's very astute.
because I feel like we would if we ever would keep it. Say if we had like a fast,
Yep,
say if like Galvanic Blast was an artifact like a fast ramp, I'd
yep.
probably keep it because I could go Cavern of Souls naming
It
wizards
depends on
Magus.
how devastating this would be for opponents, right? You need to think
Right.
about that because
That's
if they're playing monocolored, then
and it doesn't matter for the
it
most
won't
part. Or at
affect them
least
as
it
much.
doesn't.
It only hits non-basics, right? And if they're playing like heavy artifact deck, it also probably is not that bad for them because they're going to have a bunch of mana rocks that can tap for colors. But yeah, as it stands, I think this hand is a mulligan. I think you said that, right?
Yes, I say yeah. We're
Yeah,
going down to a 6.
yeah, agree. All right, how about this guy?
I'd say this isn't too bad.
Okay, so you think
Now
keep?
we have
So if we keep this, what's your plan? Do you know what this
same
land
with the
does? This land is super OP, by the way. I'm not just telling you this to
oh
encourage you to keep
oh
it,
okay.
but
But
this
that
land
would
is
be like
nuts.
well not late game I guess when we have like a
As soon as you
infinite
hit with
amount.
Jaws, as soon as you hit with Jaws once, this is like very powerful then because then you've got like
Okay.
at least 6 or 7 artifacts, maybe more, and then it's like it almost becomes like a tutor. Like I've gotten to points where I had this in games where I have been looking at like the top 30 and it's like, okay, this feels like a demonic tutor almost. It takes some time and it's slow, but this land's crazy good. That being said, this
So
isn't necessarily a keep. I'm just telling you to be aware of what that land does.
I guess this is another scenario where if I want to be more greedy and keeping the hand to go like I guess it would be kind of hard putting down which card, but it'd be turn 2 pretty much getting out panic
Hmm.
and hoping it sticks.
Yeah, I mean, no one's
But
gonna remove Descent into Avernus. Like, I wouldn't expect that to happen ever.
okay.
Like, I
It would
think
be like
like the number of
two
people are
cards.
gonna be happy. They're gonna see it and be like, oh shit, I'm gonna get some treasure. I was only saying that in combination with the Academy manufacturer,
Okay.
and then they're probably just gonna kill the Academy manufacturer. So this hand, like, I think this hand has a very straightforward plan. Like, and that plan is rush this out. What does this do to the game? Like,
It speeds up the
yeah.
game. I feel yeah.
So what does this give everyone?
Advantage.
What kind of advantage?
I guess it's mana advantage. So like
Yes.
if they
So
needed
what does this not give people?
card advantage.
Yes. So knowing those two things, what is the plan in like remember what I described before
Oh,
about how
oh,
to
oh.
get card advantage in red?
Is card advantage is blasphemous act, and
Yeah. So you play this
if they want to play
fast.
under like
You play this fast, which encourages them to just like
okay,
vomit their hand onto the table, right? Like they're like, "Oh, I have
right.
all this treasure. I'm gonna play everything. Like drop my entire hand, play my commander.
Yeah,
Like
and then
we're all
there's gonna be
rich."
more
We're all
It could be
rich
more.
and like happy and like nothing could go wrong. Oh, nothing can go wrong, huh? Say hello to my little
Okay.
friend. This is such a cool combo because it's like, here, take a bunch of mana. Don't worry about it. Like, don't even trip, dog.
No, that's
It's
that
gonna
makes
be
that makes
fun. Like, just use all your mana. Like, play everything. You ever been against a player who had a Smothering Tide that no one answers, but then they have no card draw and they're just like have 10,000 treasure and they're like, fuck, I wish I could draw cards. That ever happened? Happens all the time, right?
Yep.
I mean, not all the time. Like sometimes they have card draw
Oh,
also, and then you just lose. But like a lot of times when someone has a Smothering Tide and everyone's freaking out, I'm like, they don't have any way to draw cards. So they're going to play their whole hand. We can deal with their card draw
yeah.
if they play anything that draws them cards. But if not, like let them have all the treasure they want. Who cares? Like, what are they going to do with it? You know? So like this is
And then
how, yeah,
some
I see.
people,
And then you've got follow up into Roaming Throne Jaws, which is crazy because you make
yeah,
double the blood and then all those blood do double damage.
yep,
This hand is sick with
yeah.
deflecting swat. Right?
I
You
guess
feeling it?
if
This
this was
hand's
going
like cool. Like, like, and everyone's hurt already because everyone takes damage off this. And then once you get Jaws out with this is like GG, son.
I
Yeah,
guess
this
this
is
is
sick hand.
my question. If it was a Malta 6, I guess like I would have to put one down. It's
Yeah.
out of
What do you put down? Uh, this, I think.
Simeon.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Okay,
Like,
okay,
I
okay.
mean, I don't, there's nothing else that you could give up here.
No,
Like, the only other option is deflecting swat.
not really.
I mean,
It's kind of
you
hard to
could
say.
risk,
Yeah,
you could risk it with, I mean, there's no reason to give up a land over this because
no,
unless you could guarantee you were going to draw a land every turn, like if you knew the future and you knew I'm going to draw a land every turn, then of course, like give up a land because you can just play the land you draw every turn, right? But in this case, like you have to imagine you're going to miss a land drop drawing at some point, in which case, like this is just useless. It's just a land that only works once.
correct, correct.
Yeah. So I think easily it's this. If you were going to 5, then you drop both of these because the deflecting swat is nice, but when you're going to 5, you have to accept some level of like sacrifice, and like that has to be it. Like, yeah, it would be great to have this as protection, but you mold to 5, and like you must pay that cost.
Right.
Make sense?
That makes yes, yes.
Cool. All right. Any final questions? You feel like this was helpful for you?
No, I feel like at least doing these mulligans as well kind of understands it a little bit better of like not trying to rush hands going too fast and like 'cause I think that's the reason why I kind of probably not like I'm bad. I think I just sometimes keeping way too fast like of a hands thinking like oh this is you're done
Mm-hmm.
when I pretty much like run out of gas and I'm like oh
Dude,
what am I doing?
magic's hard. Like, really hard. And, like, there's so much depth to it. Like, especially Commander, like, there's so many aspects of Commander. Nothing's black and white. So forget everything that you thought you knew and just, like, try to evaluate everything from a fresh start. And I think you've got, like, you're clearly a very smart guy. So I think you've got all the tools you need to be a great player. You just need more practice, more reps. Like I've been playing 30 years, so I've played way more games than you. That's all there is to it. Like just play more and like,
Yes.
you know, I think you're in really good shape. So, um,
Thank you.
yeah, you got it. Any other questions? Anything before we wrap up?
I'd say yeah you pretty much went into good detail and I'm kind of glad do that and definitely do more again for sure.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Great. Well, have a good night. Thanks. See you, Zach.
No, you too. Yeah.
By supporting me on Patreon, you help me toward my dream of quitting my day job and opening my own local game store. You can earn credits that you can use toward in-depth and detailed deck reviews, one-on-one coaching sessions, custom tokens, and more. Thanks for your consideration. I truly appreciate your support.